Hey everybody, welcome back to Trial and Error. We are finally getting into our solar trailers. So if you remember, I think it was September-ish last year, stumbled upon those auctions and ended up picking up 4 of these trailers. Spent about $33,000 on them, which obviously is a whole lot of money, but there is a ton of value in these things. And my plan has always been to disassemble them, take the parts that I want, get them up on the roof here, get them installed in the garage, and power the house with it. And then take the stuff that I don't necessarily need or I don't need 4 of and hopefully sell that stuff to almost offset the cost. I don't know that I'll get every bit of my money back, but I know I can get the majority of it back. So the first step here is obviously figuring out the most economical way to get this stuff mounted on the roof. And I did try 2 different ways of doing this. Looked at picking up some of the aluminum, the proper bracketing for this stuff. It got too expensive. It was gonna get crazy. So I bailed on that and I went back to one of my old favorites and picked up a whole bunch of Super Strut. So over here on your left is the aluminum E-channel, and this stuff, you know, there's almost $1,000 just in aluminum right there, and that doesn't do more than I think 18 panels or so. So I've got a total of 48 panels that I'm going to look to start with, and I may need to expand that as well. But for right now, going with aluminum for 48 panels, getting those mounted it's just crazy. So over on the Super Strut land, this stuff used to be really cheap, but unfortunately, like the cost of lumber, steel is pretty much kind of carried right along with that stuff. And we've got almost $1,100 in Super Strut stacked here, but it's still by far the cheapest way to get your solar panels up off the roof. And that's very important. You can't just mount this stuff to the roof. Heat is directly tied to efficiency with solar. So you need to give them a nice air gap between your roof and the panels themselves to keep those temps down. You can have a great, beautiful, nice sunny day, but if those panels are starting to get really warm, the efficiency of the panel just drops right off. So it'll help them to last longer, and it obviously helps them do their job better. We're gonna take this Super Strut, and I picked up a whole bunch of everyday type of hardware to mount these, and we'll see how that all works out. I'm not sure if it will, but it was, again, much cheaper than going any other option, was trying to find something similar. So I got some square washers that I think are gonna do a really nice job of securing the panels down with just some everyday 3/16 hardware and bolts. So we'll go through all of that. But the first thing we got to do is figure out how we're going to space these guys off the roof. And I think the cheapest and easiest way for me to do that is going to be to take small sections of Super Strut and build myself little mounting legs that can be bolted into the roof, but that set the Super Strut up off the roof a fair bit of space. Man, it's good to be back in the garage. I haven't been back in this garage since like November. I've just been doing stuff in the house. It's really nice to be back in here. So I want to run through you the plan here that I just kind of came up with. And we'll start by showing you some hardware here. And links for all this is going to be in the description. But from what I can tell, you can't do this any cheaper. So this is standard, I think it's 1 5/8 Super Strut. This is 12 gauge. It's really heavy stuff, so you don't have to support it like you do aluminum. I can probably do a 10-foot section just on 2 legs. So that's a lot less roof penetrations and a lot less work to get these things up there. This is called a Super Strut, or a strut nut, also called a spring Super Strut nut. And it has a little spring on the back here that basically keeps tension on this. So you slide it in and then you rotate it and it will kind of lock it in place, but still allow you to slide and make adjustments as you need to. So that will allow me to get my panels in place and still allow me to move it if things aren't quite squaring up very easily. It's not like you're stuck in using one of the slotted holes or something like that. You've got options. So from there, this is a 3/8 hole in it. I thought 3/8 hardware was probably a good idea. I probably could have gone a little lighter, but this, you know, more's better, more better, more better. So we got a 3/8 bolt. This is a 3-inch long, I believe, but again, links will be in the description. You can check that out. And then I found these square washers, which are awesome. So it's a typical 3/8 hold square washer. However, it's got these little grippy things on the end, which work perfect to grab onto the edges of the solar panels and really hold them tight. So we slide that guy through, we slide this on, and bolt it down. So for something like this, you'll have a panel here up against the 3/8 bolt, a panel here, and that little aluminum trim ring will be clamped down by these little tabs and lock this thing in. I mean, it looks like it was literally made for this type of application. My favorite kind of stuff, dirt cheap hardware. So let's assume that this is what we're going to be mounting our solar panels to. The panels are going to mount to the face of this. We don't want that the back of that solar panel to be any less than 3 inches from the roof. The recommendation on average is usually between 4 and 6 inches. I'm going to go on the high side because it's not a big deal. It's not like there's a big material cost here to make it bigger. And the bigger you can make it, again, the more efficient you make your panels. An idea that your head seemed really smart to realizing that it probably... So I had a little bit of a problem with the audio there, as you can hear. But what I'm basically saying here is it's all about girth, not about length, no matter what she says. No, really what I'm saying is those black little legs that you see, I made up a couple of them with the little black legs welded on there. And as I was going through that process, it became very clear that this was more labor intensive than A, it needed to be, and B, that I wanted to get involved with. So I tried to think of a way to make this standoff just a whole lot easier to get, you know, multiples of, and because I got a lot of steel to do this too. So what I ended up coming up with was a much simpler solution. I started with some 6-inch lag bolts, 3/8 same size, and I got some more of those square washers, except these ones are just plain flat straight but very thick square washers, and both of those things when you buy them in bulk are actually pretty cheap. And then I needed a way to space it out, so I went with the cheapest metal you can pretty much find, which is just like 3/4 inch, I think, electrical conduit. So I could just chop that up into the height that I wanted to stand off, you know, plus the bars, obviously. And when I drove a lag bolt through the center of that, and then through one of those square washers that is up against the roof, it made for like a perfect standoff that's quick to make, and then super easy to assemble, and super cheap. So I think that's going to work awesome. Time to test the theory, so I started off with just a couple of pieces of steel and ended up doing 3 of those mounts per 10-foot section of steel, which should be overkill even with a good snow load on them. Those things are not going to budge at all. And put one panel up on top of that just to kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like. And it really wasn't bad to install. I mean, the hardest part is just finding the ceiling joists to make sure that your lag bolt gets into those and getting those marked off. But once that part's done, these things go up like absolutely nothing. So, which is good because I got a ton of them. It's going to cover that roof and a good portion of the garage addition roof as well. I think we're going to have three high on the big part of the garage. So I got a lot of work to do. This part of the garage here is not, you can't stand on it. The pitch is, it's like a 10 pitch, I believe, or 11. It's steep. But the other garage is much easier to work on. So good news is I can use those to stand on and kind of keep my feet on. So it's a much safer way of getting up there. But got a whole lot of work to do, that's for sure. But as a proof of concept here, this is a great mounting system, I think, and it is as cheap as it gets. I'm going to tack this on as just a little extra bonus content, but getting these trailers all apart was quite the project. I knew it was going to be rough, but man, it was a big project for one guy. So just getting everything disconnected was obviously half the battle. I did get the solar panels and stuff off of the racks pretty easily. That's done by hand, but everything else was just way too heavy to lift or maneuver without some assistance. So just recorded one of the trailers here, but just take this and multiply it times 4. It was quite a little project for a weekend. A whole lot done in this video, but there is still a whole lot more to be done in order to get my entire house off-grid, fully on solar, and that's the goal here with the diesel generator for backup. So be sure to be subscribed if you want to see future videos here as we get the equipment up on the roof and I get that electronics wall built in the garage that'll handle the inverters and the solar charger controllers and all of that stuff that I don't know a whole lot about, but we're going to figure it out as we go through. As always, if you have any questions, make sure you throw them down in the comment section below me. Otherwise, everybody, thank you very much for watching as always, and have a great day.